Rich was actually working at the Severe Storms Forecast Center in Kansas City, so he was chasing with me, so he was sleeping in my apartment. So we kind of slept in, woke up, saw the next day was going to be another good chase day as well.
You know, so this was the end of that June of '95 kind of string of tornado days. So we were back in Norman from the night before on the June 8th, and we got up and looked at it, and it's like, well, the flow's a little weaker. There's a little bit of I don't know if it was the front or it probably was the front as it comes out, and there was like a little triple point with a dry line, what was left of it, somewhere just across the border in northwest Texas. And we were thinking, we're just sort of like, God, man, we've been chasing like every day for a week, kind of tired, but it's like storms started to form down there, and it's like, well, it's about 2 hours away. Okay, we'll see what happens. We're not gonna have to invest too much in this one.
So we saw a storm in southwest Oklahoma. I forget exactly where it was, somewhere outside of Lawton. I forget where it was. But it's barfing cold there at that point. We didn't really want to mess with it, considering there's no one coming up from the south. Next storm we went down, we intercepted it just outside the little town of Farmers Valley, which is just outside of Vernon, Texas, just across the Red River in Texas.
And I just remember driving down to it, fairly dry looking storm, nice rotation in the cloud base, an immense amount of lightning, cloud to ground lightning, just almost constant, just cracking everywhere right around us.
One of the things I really remember about that storm was early on we were on it, it produced a barrage of lightning, so the most intense close lightning I've ever witnessed. And it was, we didn't dare get out of the car. It was so constant. Like every 7 to 10 seconds, there'd be another really flash bang right around us, and that went on for a good 10 minutes maybe.
The storm couldn't have been moving 5 knots. And there were all these little dirt swirlies that were forming on the forward flank, and they would, relative to the main mesocyclone, they would drift west in toward it. And then every once in a while, one of these things would stretch out, and you'd get a little bit, something that you call a weak tornado.
It was quite enjoyable, It was not nearly as intense as the Kellerville-Allison event, but it was neat to see all these dust swirlies. They were bona fide tornadoes, they just weren't that strong. And I just remember sitting and following it along to the east, watching the cloud-based rotation, and these little multiple vortex dust swirls form underneath the rotating wall cloud. Obviously, there's a tornado there. And I remember one of them developing just to our northeast.
What do you think?
Whoa!
Oh, yeah, look at this.
I think this situation is very interesting.
Yeah, well, it is, of course, interesting because we're here.
Unexpectedly, just spins up, and Bobby pulls right in front of us, and it forms right next to him.
And I feel something down on my foot. I think, what is that?
Wow, damn, that was a big bug on me. What the hell was that?
I gotta zoom out. That's,
God.
What is that, 50 yards from the edge of this?
Yeah.
75 yards?
All right. That was a big bug on me. What in the hell are you?
And I look down, there's this like big old
You see, we
cockroach
got all this
beetle.
crazy turbulence.
It was the heat of battle. I didn't really look hard at what it was, but I felt it crawling around down there. Actually, remember I opened the door and kicked it out.
We were just sitting parked, and we wouldn't get out of the vehicle because the lightning was horrendous. I mean, there were cloud to ground strikes everywhere. I mean, we were nervous sitting in the vehicle, but we're just sitting there, and then one of those little swirlies comes in from the east-northeast and gets under the main wall cloud.
Wait a second, this isn't a spin-up, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's a big red cloud, and it's getting close. Uh-oh, we have to leave now.
And it was one of those where we realized it's kind of expanding, and it was the case where it wasn't really that big, but it wasn't that far away, and we were just sitting straight south of it. And then it finally dawned on us that it's not just getting bigger, it's like drifting toward us. If we just sit here, I think it's going to hit us. So.
I'm videotaping, and Bobby's, I think it's a little two-door Ford Explorer parked right there, and Tim makes the comment, well,
Bobby is going to get melted here.
And we'll get it on video.
Tim says, oh yeah, he is backing up. And he says, oh Gene, I think you should start thinking about backing up too.
Yeah, I think we ought to back up too. Oh, you got to turn around.
So then we turn around, go south, and then east, and then the tornado intensifies. I mean, relatively speaking, it was probably F1 type stuff.
That is definitely a tornado.
Geez, we picked a really entertaining spot. I don't
Okay.
have a good view of this, Bobby, because
I've got a great view of it.
I've got the east side.
Look at this.
Holy cow, what is that? That is literally 50 yards away in the field.
Yeah.
It's not strong.
No.
Holy cow.
Beautiful.
Now, have you ever been closer than that?
No.
And then went across the highway behind us.
And we were close. But the funny part is, maybe 100 yards down the road, Tim Marshall and Gene Rhoden, they're even closer to us.
yeah.
They're even closer than we were at that point, taking video of it crossing across.
Tornado is crossing the road in front of me. Take some stills, Gene.
It ended up being a multi-vortex tornado, but it wasn't that intense. It was enough to maybe take out your windows. It would have not been a pleasant day for you had you stayed with it.
But it was like when it was this dirty thing that went by. It was maybe 75 or 100 yards west of us, crossing by. And so we're not in the path, and we're just off the path, but we have this spectacular backlit view of what from the distance wasn't that impressive. But if you're right up next to it, it looks really cool. And that's another case where, spectacular video opportunity, and I had messed up something.
I think I was on standby for some of that.
Don't tell me that.
All four of us were out in two separate vehicles and taking video of it. And this really hurt Rich. Rich thought he was recording, but he had it in standby instead.
I had like this, I think that's what I did, where I had the second half, and I wasn't looking through the viewfinder. And then when I realized I wasn't recording it, I caught some of the little multi-vortex stuff toward the latter part of the tornado.
Yeah, that's happened to me one time before, where you think you're recording it when you're in standby. So you were recording it when the camcorder was sitting in the vehicle. When you hit the button again, you're in standby when you thought you were filming it. And that was a real painful episode for him, but at least my video turned out for the most part.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, because we saw Al Mohler and Chuck Doswell later, and they were sort of unimpressed because they were like 5 or 6 miles east, and to them it was just this little, it was a dirt whirly. It didn't look like a decent tornado, and then Bobby said, well, check this out, and shows them the video, and it's like, wow, that was a lot more impressive when you're 10 feet from it, but so almost in it. So yeah, that was kind of the end of the whirlwind sequence in '95, and then after that, I think that was the end of the chase season for most of us down here. We just said, okay, I'm tapping out. It's like, I can't chase like 10 days in a row, and the whole pattern broke down, and that was pretty much it. So that was kind of the last hurrah for the legendary June '95 stretch.